Hello, everyone. That's
Welcome,
how to get that.
everybody.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started because this is always a big discussion and you get to actually work on a website. So, welcome, everybody. My name is Jana Weiss. I'm the student life coordinator for Global Online. And today we have our wonderful presenter, Alexandra Olastica. And she's going to be talking to us about how to create a free website. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you. Hello, hello. Hi, Miss Cons. Good to see you. We have a lot of people coming in, so let's give it a couple of minutes as a couple more get in. So I am Alex, librarian for ACC. I worked out of the Ailey Face campus, and I also work online. And I really appreciate that you are here today. I'm going to drop on the chat a link to a presentation that I created for this session, and I'm going to jump back and forth between that presentation and actual live places, okay? Um so let me share my screen. Make sure that I'm sharing the right one. Here we go. So we should be seeing understanding domains and website platforms. Okay. This session is about creating a website. Um, and we'll talk about some of the things that that entails, and then I'm going to share some examples with you. Okay. But one of the first things that I want to highlight, it's kind of like what direction is it that we're going to, right? Uh, And the first thing that I want to recommend that you consider when you are embarking on exploring different ways of doing things in different products is that you use an email that is independent from your let's say your main email. So usually at these days your main one of the most important emails that you're using is tied to your phone. So I always want you to consider protecting your privacy and making sure that you have different accounts when you're experimenting with products, right? um a website can have a lot of different objectives. Some people make websites because they want to set up their online store. I do not talk about setting online shops and Shopifying content, okay? So this is a very basic introduction to some concepts that you should have that can take you from having a simple website to actually publishing it. And I invite you to explore. So one of the first things that usually people think is like, oh, where can I make a website, right? Another thing that you can consider is what domain am I going to select? Uh, at some point, we'll check for availability, right? And then you have to register and build that site. You're going to make it somewhere, right? So, in this process, as you are considering what you're going to do, a good thing to take in mind is to put your content in a folder. Okay. So when I mean by that is that I invite you as you are thinking about what you're going to do with your site is to you to start accumulating either images or files that you may want to use on your own device and not just work directly online. Okay, so you have to think about what files am I using, what type of images, JPEG, PNG, right? um so there are a lot of different things that you should consider as you're going through the process, and your objective is going to be very important. But if you've never made a site and you follow some of the examples that I'm going to share with you today, you can make a site within a website within at least let's say a web page within the next page, and no coding required, right? So this is a no coding how to make a free website. And then this is my plug-in. So imagine for a moment that you decided that you actually want to learn how to code, and how would you go about it? I want to invite you to consider the programs that HCC offers under our digital communications program. Okay, so we have an outstanding faculty in that program that can take you through the process, and we have different degrees that you can consider, right? So let's say you wanted to learn all about how to get into the world of making websites. You might consider checking out a digital communication certificate, and within the classes that they offer, you get computer graphics, the basics of graphic design, digital imaging in Photoshop, which can be very interesting and important for you, fundamentals of photography so that you can get your own content, or maybe you want to photograph your product, so you learn how to do that. And then the capstone experience is actually a web design class, so you can take a whole course about how to set up this professionally, including also learning about how to produce digital video. So HCC has these offerings for you, and then we also have additional degrees in digital communication. For example, digital photography, graphic design, visual effects and motion graphics, web publishing, and the XR design and development. So there's a whole line of approach that you can take to expand your knowledge in a very formal way with amazing faculty that can teach you. Okay, so remember that as you go through your process, your creative process. So I have a lot of tabs open because we are going to be sharing a lot of different things. So let me go back here, and I'm going to publish this again. Well, let me just drop it here. Here we go. So I'm using a platform that I'm going to share with you. It's called Gamma. And we just talked a little bit about, well, we're going to pick a platform, you're going to select the domain, and you're going to check the availability of that. And then at some point, you're going to register and build something. So when you talk about a domain, you know, what we're talking about is about that address, right? So it could be a lot of different things, but not all of them are available, okay? So you have to check to see if an address is available. I have my own domains. I use a platform called Square. And all of these domains that you see on the screen are domains that, let's say, I have leased. Because you don't really buy a domain. The domains are controlled by an organization that's called ICANN, okay? So ICANN is it's a global organization that is in charge of managing domains. And one thing that I'm going to highlight that is very important for you to know is that there's the concept of the registrant, right? So we use companies to register the domain that we want. In this case, before I used to use Google domains, but that's not available anymore. I use Square right now, but there's also GoDaddy is a really popular one that people use. So there are several registrants. So if you wanted to find registrants, you could click here to verify that that domain could be available. Earlier today I was looking for something, but I'll look at that somewhere else. So I highlight this to make sure that when you are working with, you know, selecting who's gonna be, let's say, your host, that you consider going with a company that is well established, right? Um, so I'm gonna stop here for 1 second, and I have a question for you when the attendees today. If you could register a domain today, if you could have your own domain, what domain would you register? I want you to tell me on the chat, and we'll see what ideas you can come up with. Okay, I see we're getting something. If you could register a domain today, what would you register? Okay. Okay, Alrighty. So Noah has dibs on galactic underscore sandbox VM. And I know others are typing. Let me see. Okay. So I told you I use Square, right? And you can see some of my domains here, _domain. I own my, well, at least my own name, alexandraalmestica.com. I got that years ago. No, I don't have anything published there. But a domain that I do have something in is called Liberating Education. And it's a little bit of a different domain. Um, It doesn't have a .com because the .education is the end
Bring me a
of it,
notebook when you
okay?
come this way.
So that is my own portfolio for graduate studies that I have. And I make that in, hi, welcome. And I made that in Google Sites, okay? So if you go to a registrar, that's okay, Elijah. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna try that domain. Let's see what happens if I try VN. So now I suggested this to, you're good. I suggested it to Square because I'm finding out what's available. And I want you to see that the closest match is actually galacticsandboxvm.com. So, and that would be to start for $14 a year. So there is a cost when you get a domain for, and it's usually for a year. Although I've seen that sometimes you can register for even lengthier periods of time. And then as you scroll down, you're going to see other domains, right? Sometimes they have sales on domains and there are a lot of different variations. How many domains are there? Ooh, let me check something real quick. There are too many. So this is a list of top level domains. Let me see if I can to view the list. Go here. These are all different domains at the top level that are available. And some domains, like, let me see if that one is here. So for example, let me blow this up. You see how COM is here, right? Some domains are domains that we might not be able to get because they have been locked down into specific uh, countries. Let me see. For example, this one, I don't know, Yahoo, that might not be something that we might be able to get. YouTube, I don't know about that one, right? But if you wanted to see a list of top level domains, this is something that you can explore. If you notice, when I went here, uh as I started scrolling down, you have a different price ranges, right, for domains. So something like galactic sandbox dot space is 20, but dot science is 50. So there are different price levels when you are selecting a domain, okay? And I always invite you to, if you know, to only get a domain if you really want it, if you want to save it for a future project, you can do that. Like I have a domain that I have reserved in a way, and it's this one. Can you show me.org? Because one time I thought that if I wanted to, let's say, distribute how to do some things in the library to people in prisons in different places, one of the questions that I answer is that one. People come to me and they say, can you show me? And I said, wait, can you show me? And then I put the .org. And in that, I want you to notice that I have leased a .org domain. So as information users, do know that an individual can get a .org, a .com, and a lot of different domains. But other domains, like for example, I don't think .us is available, but .gov, not everybody can get .gov, and some countries that you cannot get their domain. And it's really interesting. There's a domain that is .ai. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. And at some point today, before we end up, go look who has ownership for now, lease of the .ai domain, and then come back and let me know, okay? So keep that idea in your mind. So when it comes to searching for domains, also Mansi said do underscore domain. So domains don't have underscores under them, right? So we're gonna check that one too. Do. Let's see. There you go. Well, that's interesting. Doma.in is not available. Somebody has it. I'm not going to go check who has it because I don't know what type of content might be there. So you have to be very careful, right? And if I scroll down, I could see maybe others um domains that could be related. For example, you could consider, ooh, look at this one, domain.studio for 4,375 dollars a year. Some people dedicate themselves to buying domains and leasing them and then reselling that. So sometimes when you get a domain and you really want to hold on to it, you want to keep that domain on your roster. Okay. So do you guys have any questions about domains, like a general entry into, okay, this is what I do to get a domain? If you have a question, type it on the chat. If you don't have a question, give me a no. And remember, I show you some prices, but today you don't have to buy anything to set up a site. This is for you to know because it's a question that I usually get later on. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Okay. So keep that idea of the domain and where you go get a domain in your mind. What we're going to do now is we're going to go look at some options that you can explore to make a site for free fairly quickly. Okay. Let me share my screen. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So there are a lot of different platforms out there for setting up a site for free. One of the most popular for years have been WordPress. I personally don't use WordPress, but it is something that you should explore. And I have account on multiple places, okay? This is WordPress. It's been very popular. Notice that you have an option to get a domain, making sites, and I do have a project that I started as just trying out, okay? So that aspect of you just creating an account, going in there and creating something new, it's a great place to start if you've never done something like that. Way back in the day, we had to have all your files and then upload them via FTP and put them in places, and maybe some things were missing. Nowadays, a lot of what you see in regards to creating sites, is what you see is what you get. So in the context of WordPress, if I wanted to add a new site, I could create it myself. I could migrate. I could create with AI, which is a feature that is coming up. And if you want to do something like this, you will start from this page. Okay. Sometimes you can start without having a domain, and that's fine. So for example, when I started this site over here, it was absolutely no domain. And my domain right now, it's under WordPress. So when you start websites for free, you're using their domain as they host what you're creating. Okay. So WordPress is something that I recommend you check at some point. Um, it's industry standard for a lot of different people. One site that I'm also used to helping students create a site with is Google Sites. I'm using one of my accounts and they offer you different templates that you can explore. But if you want to create a site, you just click blank site. And we're going to do a site real quick here, with an example that I have. Let me see. Noah, do I have your permission to use Galactic Sandbox for the title of this page? And I'll delete it later. Thank you, Noah. Okay. So galactic, let me see how you, thank you so much, Noah. So we're gonna do something named Galactic Sandbox, and when you're working on Google Sites, I'm gonna put demo here. Whatever I put in, no, I'm gonna put Galsa, okay? Whatever I put here is going to populate down here. Google Site is a really neat way of understanding, okay, what's happening on the screen. And the way this works is like you can drop different things, like for example, a text box that has text and an image, and then you can add additional content. You can also insert more pages. So for example, I'm gonna name this one Galactic. And I'm going to make another one that's going to be Sandbox. And now it has 3 pages. And I want you to see how it's populating, right? Some things at the top. Now, I'm going to go back to my homepage, right? And earlier, I had selected an image that I save on my computer, and I'm going to upload that to the site. And I have it on web materials, and it's called a path. And I'm going to put that there, okay? So now I just integrated an image here. And if you notice, I'm just clicking on the screen and making things a little bit bigger. Now, I like to use the word placeholder to hold space for things that I may include later. And as part of my project, I have a folder on my desktop in which I put a text that is not going to make sense because it's in Latin, okay? It's called Lorem Ipsum, and it's something that at some point you might want to explore. Lorem Ipsum is a kind of text in Latin that is used to hold space when you are creating a document, and it's very ancient. It came from Europe in the 1500s. Okay, so there's a whole explanation of why you use this text and how traditional it is to use it. So if at some point you want to explore Lorem Ipsum, you're welcome to do that. You can find the text online and then you can use it as a placeholder. So far, what I've done here is I have a text box with I'm going to put Lorem here, okay? And I also have a Galactic page. So imagine that you wanted to insert more things here. I could go and I'm going to add 2 of the same images, okay? So I'm going to upload path here, and I'm also going to upload path here, and I'm going to make some arrangements. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger by just hovering over and dragging things, okay? And I'm going to do that same here, just a little bit bigger. So notice how everything is adjusting, and wherever you see text, you can type what you want just to see how it looks. I'm going to leave this one blank, all right? And on my 3rd page, I am just going to insert an image. The same one. There it is. Gonna move it to the center, make it a little bit bigger, okay? So far, we have 3 pages with a little bit of content, placeholder. I can apply themes to this. It's a feature that Google Site has, and I'm gonna put vision, and it's gonna change the way things look, okay? Or perhaps impression. Let me see if I can do impression in blue.
Oh,
So there we go. Leveling blue. Okay. Because I'm going with, you have to explore some elements of visual design to kind of like make things a little bit cohesive or chaotic, depending on what you're going for. Okay. So I just apply this and I'm going to publish. This is really important when you are publishing and creating content online. You always want to publish. You want to upload, make sure your content goes online. Okay. If you don't do that, you won't be able to, have your page go live online. And in this case, you remember I chose Galsa right here as the name. So this is going to be the address of my Google site. So I'm going to publish this and now my site is going live online. Okay. Now let's test this. You want to see a 404 error. I'm going to refresh and now it's up. Okay. So I'm dropping what I just made on the chat for you. Click on that link and you test it. Is it working? Let me know on your end and click on the menu at the top and see how that looks for you. Oh, I'm sorry, Shyla. Maybe one day you can find it again. That's happened to me too. That's why this is important that we share. Oh, refresh your page. Error. Oh my goodness. Click F5 on your keyboard. Error. Everybody's getting an error. Let's see.
Yeah, it's not coming up.
Oh, did I say just mute? Oh, so don't do. They're getting an error. Let me see.
Oh, I found it.
You found it? Did it come up for you?
Oh no, Galsa is actually a company.
Oh, hold on. Let me post that again.
Galsa.com is a company.
Oh, I see why. Thank you guys for testing. Try that now.
There we go.
I made an error when I posted the link. Test that. Good job testing. Better. Okay. Now it loaded a page for you. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much for testing. So did you see the error that I made? When I posted my link, it didn't post correctly. So that's important. Post our links correctly. Okay. So it took us like 5 minutes to get some content, put some words, select the layout, and have an active site that you can all see or you're in. Okay. If it, I know it works. It's gonna go through. Thank you for testing. Right now, what's really important about this? Yes, we got the website going, but what did I do? I had an idea. Thank you, Noah, for the Galactic Sandbox. I also respect that. If you notice, I use Galsa to not use his idea, right? In the entirety. It's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna use this, and then I can go from there. But I had text, I had an image, right? And I had like a direction of maybe some pages that I wanted to have. So as you're experimenting in setting a website for free, you should consider, that architecture and what is and how things are going to be organized. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. What website did I use to make it? I demonstrated this one. Give me 1 second, because I had to give you the correct email. Sitesgoogle.com. So this is free with Google. No need to get a domain, okay? And you can, create something there. very basic, pretty straightforward, and it works under, if you already have a Google account, you can go to Google and do that there. Okay. Before I move into the last thing about Google Sites that I want to share with you, do you have any questions for me about this? You're very welcome. Yep. So Google has this feature inside that's called Google Sites. And you can go there and practice those skills of, how do I upload file? How can you? Jason, the answer with that would be probably no. And you want to be careful with that. That's a good question. Can you accept payments, donations on Google site? No. Like this, it's not a commercial website, right? And then some people, let's say if they see Google Sites and it's kind of like donations or stuff like that, they could be all, they're trying to steal my money. So then you might want to evaluate different platforms for donations. Like GoFundMe, that would be for donations. If you want to check payments and you're thinking like business entrepreneurial and we're going for, maybe some type of initiative around a business, you want to check Shopify and you want to check Square. Great question. Correct, Elijah. Maybe if you want to start playing around with feeling comfortable with how to make a site, this is or a personal blog, a portfolio, very basic. Okay, very, very basic. And then how can you make a site work with links and its own features? Okay, I'll get to that. And we have one more question coming. So across any website design platform that you're working with, you're gonna have the ability of creating links. I didn't put any links here on purpose, but I'll show you on another site, just like one step at a time. So I'm gonna go back. And this was the site that we just created. I'm going to go now to, if I wanted to put a link here, I will go to Lorem Ipsum, and right here, I would do insert link, and here I can drop a link to another site. So in this way, you can apply and then take a link from one place to another, okay? So that concept of I'm going to apply a link to content is something that you can do. Now, unfortunately, this site is very short-lived because it's only for today, right? So now I'm in my Google site landing page, and you can see that here is the Galactic Sandbox that we created, but I don't necessarily want to carry this, and I also want to honor the person whose idea this belongs to. It's not mine, so I'm going to remove it, okay? And when I remove this, it will be in my bin for 30 days, and then it's going to completely disappear. So with this, the site is completely deleted. Okay, so no more. It's gone. If you click on that link again, you won't be able to see it. All right. So that's a very quick intro to Google Sites. Now, let me check here 1 second. Now, if I get a 404 because the site is not working anymore. Okay, it's gone, but it was good while it lasted. You saw it. It's not. Thank you for testing on your end. It's now gone. So you see how fast we went from nothing to setting aside to displaying it on the web, you guys testing, and then me coming back and deleting the whole thing. Okay, so that is something that that can happen. I've used Wix, which is a different platform for creating a capstone for portfolio. And let me see if I have it here. Okay. No, that was not the one. That was a different one. it was oh no, it was weeks, but in a different account. Okay. So I'm going back here to my Gamma. Give me just 1 second, because I had to get that link for you. On this site on Wix, it's a different platform, right? And somebody was asking about making the site work more with links. In Wix, that's a platform that would allow you to have an experience in creating a site that is closer to working with Adobe products, right? But it's still web-based. It's not like you are just working on your computer. This was 100% online. What did I make in Wix a long time ago? Let me share this with you one more time. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Long time ago, maybe 5 years ago, I made this project in Wix. So this was an actual capstone project for a master's degree. And I made this using this platform, set up the layout, and the result was a portfolio for the city of Tulia in Texas. Okay. So if you notice, I have a more traditional approach with a home, what's new. This was presented to the council, the city council, and different areas. And they were collaborators in the project, right? That was part of the team that created this site. So if notice in here, if you're looking at it, it's a completely different experience from Wix. And this is a little bit more advanced, but you can do it. The thing about using a platform like this and learning is that they are going to have internal products from you to learn how to make things, but you have to be patient with yourself. Sometimes they have videos about how to do different things, and you're going to notice vocabulary like domains, or how do I move a site from another. They also have AI features. So I will say that making a site in Google Sites is like very basic. If you move to something like Wix, it's a little bit more advanced, right? In that you have additional features and different things that you can do in terms of creating sections. In this case, if you notice to left to right, these are the margins of your pages as they will be shown on the web browser. And sometimes you have to be thinking about, am I using the web browser or am I designing this to a mobile environment? So you can switch to see how something looks in a mobile setup, okay? So this is another place that you can explore. Armand, you have been to Tulia? I've never been there. Armand is saying, can we build a business site through this, like a whole payment system? Yes, you can. If you want to build a business site, one thing that you want to get familiar with, some people use different platforms, are something like Square, okay? Because you're thinking that now that's a whole nother different conversation, right? And it's kind of how do you accept payments? And then let me stop here for 1 second. When you want to build a business, you have to be very serious about it, especially in the state of Texas, because some people will tell you to get an LLC so that you separate your persona from your business persona. And then remember, you have to also work with the controller in Texas because there's taxes that you need to pay. And one time I wanted to start a business and I did not do that the right way, and I got into trouble with the controller. I don't want you to go through that. So if you're interested in how to start a business, give me 1 second. You may want to, I'm gonna put this on the link, on your links, and I'm gonna show you on our site. And at the Ailey Hayes campus, we have the Goldman Sachs initiative, And that is something that you can explore, and you should consider contacting them, for assistance about how to build a business, right? They have a summer cohort starting in 2026, okay? So you want to get professional advice. We have a program through ACC here at Ailey Face on the third floor, and they also hold a lot of different initiatives online and things that you can attend. Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Another thing that you could explore is the Houston. Let me see if I got it. Yep, here we go. The SBA, the U.S. Small Business Administration office for the Houston area. So if you want to start your own business, check out those two resources, okay? Don't just go online and try to open a shop without getting educated, okay? Because there are consequences, and I want you to be successful and follow the guidelines of the law. That's very important. Be ethical, okay? Thank you so much for those questions. Of course, of course. It's my duty to make sure that you get resources so that then you can explore and keep on learning, right? And remember, ACC also has a business program that dwells in business administration, but we do have that aspect. And at sometimes of the year, we also have the Mattress Max School through the small business, through the Goldman Sachs program. You're welcome, so explore that. Now, I see some of you have it. You're welcome. Some additional comments, and I do encourage you to go forth. And if you want to be, your entrepreneur and you want to start your own LLC and you want to have your own business, go forth and do that. Also, Armani is asking a very interesting question about an AI website builder. Like, they do actually work. Yeah, they do. They do. The website, I haven't tried one yet. Although I am going to show you something that makes a web page with AI. Okay. But I cannot say, yeah, you should check this out or consider evaluating these products, right? And when I say this, I want you to always think about the money issue. What I'm showing you today are things that you can try for free before you make any investment, right? Or put any money towards something. Make sure you get good counseling from a business owner or a program that can guide you into the boundaries of legalities of making websites, for making your own. So yeah, exactly, because money is a big thing in college. So you gotta be very careful with how you use that, okay? So far I show you something on Google Sites. I show you something on Wix, right? That capstone for this project, right? So this was another site that I made. And if you notice, my site is still up, but it's because I copy it to a free domain. Originally, I have my own domain, for this. But then after the project was over, I just, I didn't renew that domain because it was not necessary. But I still kept this copy up as an example of work done by a student. So I'm going to close Wix here real quick, because I just had a question on, AI for websites. And we talked a little bit about WordPress too. And I'm leaving before I go to, showing a website with AI. I want to highlight something about this image. I got this image from Pixabay, okay? And if you notice, I want you to see on the right side that it says free for use under the Pixabay content license. So you cannot just go online and grab random images and then start using content that doesn't belong to you. And next week, I think it's next week, we have a session about generating images with AI and making flyers and some things. So if you're interested in the minutia of, what are some of the things that I need to be careful in my practices, I highly recommend you attend that session. You can use Pixabay, and in the case of this content here, this is telling me how can I use it, right? Good. We'll be working with you next week. Thank you for registering. You can use this content for free. You can give it without using attributes, and you can modify or adapt it, right? But then these are some things that you cannot do with that content, right? So that image of the little house in the past, I cannot sell it. You know, I cannot use that content for immoral or illegal ways that are, with fashion that you portray people. I cannot use it to mislead or deceive people. I cannot use that in any content as part of a different trademark. So I cannot just use this image for everything. So in the context of this session today, I'm using it to demonstrate a function. Other than that, nothing else. I could use it for a class project, but if you are going to make money off of something, you have to create your own images, okay? And you have to make sure that you have the rights. The only time that you something that we'll explore next week are royalty-free images and how to get those, okay? Permission to use those. So after having done that little notice on hey, be careful with how you're using and getting content, let me address the AI part. I haven't explored a platform to make a full website using AI, but I have explored two platforms that allow me to design a web page. And one of them is Adobe Express, and I've been using this for years. This is part of the Adobe product suite. And then the other one is Gamma. I use Gamma this day a lot to create presentations and to also make landing pages. So for example, in Gamma, I can create by generating, okay? And I can create a web page by describing what I might want to make. So I want you to give me an example. Describe a site that you want me to create and drop it on the chat. And I'll go from what you drop there. And if I can combine a decor business site, okay. Pet shirts. Let's see what was going to happen here. Oh my goodness. A cute cat site. Okay. About seals. Custom flowers for spring. Woo. Okay. You guys are amazing. So let me do something here real quick. Now this is not a session about how to use AI. I'm not going with horror. I am not doing that one about seals in a park. I'm gonna keep it at that, okay? So I am using Gemini to get an idea of what I Suma's laughing at me. Yeah, I could keep it cute, but I'm going to stay away from horror because I wouldn't know. So I will have to test that before I present it to an audience to be in compliance with our safety, because that it could get a little bit strange. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is a prompt here. A high-end business decoration and lifestyle brand that specializes in seasonal aesthetic, featuring a flagship line of stylish pet shirts. Okay. Okay, so here are some ideas, right? So if I wanted a full prompt, this is something that I would do. And I'm going to use this to see what happens. I've never done this before in this way, but here we go. So if you see me, I'm being playful, right? I'm taking content and ideas and I'm trying them in a different platform to see what happens. So I'm okay with experimenting. So I'm dropping that entire prompt and we're going to try to see, make a web page. I don't need to edit the prompt. It's all good. But I'm going to say sure here. And now it's taking me to text content. So in this particular application, I can say generate I'm going to say concise. I could say detail. I'm going to leave it at detail for you to see what happens. And then I am online. And then I'm going to, somebody selected horror. So I'm going to go with a little bit more of a moody, you know, selection for this, a little bit darker. And I'm going to say that I want illustrations. Okay. Oh, you're good. And then it's going to generate 10 cards, but it's also going to be a site. Okay. And I'm going to leave it free form like that. So if you notice, using the entire thing that I got from Gemini. And now I'm generating, and we're going to see what happens. I don't know. I didn't give any additional instructions, which I could. So what I want you to recognize in this case is that I'm using content. Here we go. This is the system generating things automatically. I like that color selection. It's a little bit darker, but not, you know, and it's also generating images. Now, these are seasonal long book for whoever, who was it that says something, that the seal. That it is wild. Pet apparel, office decor, find your seal size. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I don't, I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to get back to, let me scroll up before you see what's happening here. No, we cannot add a payment method. We're not going to do that. Let me see. I had to wait till it stopped. Okay. So this is something that I want you to consider. You guys gave me some ideas there, like write some little phrases. I took some material and I took it to Gemini to get maybe and asked Gemini to generate something for me, right? And then I took that and I took it to another platform to create a landing page. Okay. So I'm not going to show you the site. I'm going to publish it. And then I'm going to put it on the, here we go. I'm going to put it on the link so that you test it on your end. Okay. Give me 1 second. And view. Let me see. Wait till you see what just came out. Oh my goodness. Copy share link. Okay, here we go. Before me sharing you, click on that link and let me know what you think. We're getting some approvals. You see that seal in spring? Let me just show it now to you. Okay, now, when I made this, you saw that that's an interesting point that you're bringing, Sumia, about how it feels scary because it took little effort to create something so elaborate. Okay, so that is where we come in as creators of information and ethical people, right? So I show you something that you could have done by yourself. But do you think that this work really belongs to me? Did I create every single word? Did I did I create the images? I did not. Okay. So that is where you have to be very careful about the use of AI in applications like this, because there is another way of creating where I can actually submit my own original text and have AI not modify a single word. Okay. So it's a Carly says our founder spent years in commercial interior design. So there is a fine line between you knowing, what are the boundaries, within class that I can use or for different applications. But this is something that you should explore and you should be aware of. Then you decide, right? Right? You're right. There's some ethical things that we need to consider. When would this be an okay thing to use? Could this be used commercially? I haven't explored this for commercial use. I use Gamma for educational uses. But you're gonna see other applications. If you notice, when we were in Wix, there was an AI component. So you have to read terms of service when you are doing this. And I haven't seen our collaboration here of years. Let me see what happened. You got the seal that you guys said where the office meets the outdoors. Well, that's cute. Yeah. And everything, we can go in depth into, the platforms. This does not work, right? But this is an example. Imagine you were trying to generate an idea of how some things could look. This could be an idea for you, right? Of how to do that. But you have to be very careful, okay? Um, yes, thank you, Jana. Um, that was one thing. We were here, you see here in this section, all of this, you can type your own script in here. And when you do something like that for creation, you can say minimal text, or even before even creating something, I'm gonna put just a word here. You When you create that outline, you can say not to generate any content, only images, so that it only uses your text. So if you notice in here, you can create a web, you can create documents, you can create a lot of different things. And then one more site that I wanted to share with you, it was Adobe Express, and it has a feature here in which you can create a web page, right? And you can do a journal, and these look really neat. Once you're done with them, I'm gonna show you an example of one that I created for the AI 101 session that we have. So let me show you how that looks. This is a landing page created in Adobe Express. If you notice, the content looks very different. And I just made this as an additional digital material that the students can use. This I created using Canva and integrated into another site, okay? And then if I scroll down, I have additional links to other things that you can select from there, okay? So thank you so much, Armand. Okay. Well, you guys, we have come to the end. You saw we went from creation to from blank, something very simple, to AI generation. So I'm glad you enjoy it. Oh, you guys, you go forth and explore. Create accounts, try products, because that also stimulates you to learn new things. You're welcome. Thank you for attending. Thank you. You have a good day. Stay safe out there, okay? You're welcome. And thank you so much for attending today. I hope this inspires you to keep learning. Remember, we have programs at ACC that you can attend, right? To learn how to professionally make websites, and that you can also go forth into the field and try different products. Don't pay. Try different platforms, get interested in technology and how to use it ethically, and consider those ideas about what can you do and what can you not do. Bye. You too. See you on the AI Maker. Have a good day. Bye. Thank you, Sima. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Good. Bye.